did we come from? How did we get here? What brought us into existence? In most high schools and colleges, Charles Darwin's theory of evolution is presented as an established fact of science rather than a theory. But today, many leading scientists in their peer-reviewed literature are rejecting Darwin's theory for many reasons. One of the most important being the Cambrian explosion of animals, where complex, fully formed animals suddenly just appeared in the fossil record, with no prior ancestors before them. Why do some scientists believe that these animals present compelling evidence of an all-powerful designing intelligence in the history of life?
Do an experiment. Say in a crowd that the appearance of life on Earth is due to a creator, the divinity, and almost certainly there will be enough people to tell you that science supports Darwin's theory of evolution and that the appearance of life on Earth should not be attributed to an imaginary divinity, because Darwin clearly tells us how life has evolved, how humans have evolved over millions of years from monkeys. And they will tell you this with a strong conviction that shows in their eyes the compassion that you are still at such a level of ignorance that you believe that the Creator is needed for the appearance of life. But if you go into a little more detail, you will be amazed that people generally don't really know what Darwin's theory of evolution is. And if you go into more detail, you will be surprised to learn that Darwin's theory does not explain the appearance of life, but largely only its evolution. And how could he do it when at that time fundamental notions of microbiology such as DNA and RNA were not known? Explaining the appearance of life without knowing how processes take place at the cell level is far too difficult even for the great Darwin. Since the discovery of DNA in 1950, scientists have been trying to determine how DNA could have formed naturally. A lot of experiments have been done since then and until now, trying to reproduce the conditions that led to the natural formation of DNA. But so far, scientists have been forced to admit that they still cannot explain how the DNA could have formed naturally. We will see later where the difficulty of these tests come from when we see how things work at the cell level. The complexity of the processes that take place at the level of the human cell leaves us speechless.
And in particular, things that we've discovered about the information-bearing properties of living organisms and the information-bearing properties of the amazing molecule known as DNA.
Yeah, when Crick and Watson came out with this discovery, what did they show us?
Well, Watson and Crick made the extraordinary discovery in 1953 that is, world-renowned. It was this: they were able to elucidate the structure of the DNA molecule, and they showed that the DNA molecule had this famed double helical structure with 4 chemicals running along the inside of that helix. And as most of us learn in biology class at some point, the DNA is the molecule that contains hereditary information, and it has a helical structure. Along the outside there is this winding ladder, double helix ladder made of sugar and phosphate. On the inside of the molecule there are these 4 chemicals called bases or nucleotide bases. And in 1957, 4 years after the structure was discerned, Francis Crick put forward, I think, what was one of the most important hypotheses in the history of science. It's called the sequence hypothesis. And what Crick proposed was that these 4 chemicals that chemists represent with the letters A, T, G, and C are actually functioning like alphabetic letters in a written text or like zeros and ones in a section of computer code. That is to say, it's not their chemical shape or structure that matters. What matters is the arrangement of those chemicals such that they are able to convey instructions for building all the important proteins and protein machines that keep cells alive. So what you have on the DNA molecule is literally digital code that provides instructions for building the crucial parts of cells that allow all life to exist.